We're showing here our gigacore switches from Luminex. What we actually do with Luminex is we make it possible to do a full converged networking with multiple audio protocols, lighting and video, all to live in one infrastructure, and that without the need of any IT knowledge. So with our network hardware, actually our network switches and our Araneo software, we make it possible so you can manage your complete AV network in a very easy and transparent way. What we're looking at here is actually the complete setup we have on the ISE show with our different stations connected. We are running Dante Audio, AVB Milan Audio, AS67, MA nets for lighting, ArtNet streaming ACN, IPMX video and the iVideo all on one infrastructure as a proof that we can do true convergence. And that's all living in the same infrastructure without any problems, because we actually make sure that all the presets or all the configuration you normally need to know for IT is already embedded in the switches. And that's where the big differentiator is, so you don't need the IT knowledge, and we make sure it works as a converged setup. So we don't put things in different boxes, because in the end it needs to live on the trunk connections between the switches. If we look to the interface, we can see all the network switches. So Araneo actually connects everything automatically together, and so we see the connections, we see all the edge devices on the network. We can easily move this around and organize your plan as you want. We can easily navigate in it. We can find equipment in it. So if I'm looking to my Riedel Bolero antenna, I can easily jump to that. So it's a tool that gives you visibility on the network, and visibility means confidence. When you know what is happening on the network, then you actually get confidence in what you're doing. Continuously, the tool is monitoring the network, so it shows you for each network switch the traffic usage. It can show you the PoE usage, the IGMP registrations. So all the info is there to look at for troubleshooting. But one of the main things is that once we look to a network as this, we can also configure it as one system. So for Luminex, we're not configuring one network anymore, but we're configuring actually network-wide, which means if I want to assign a VLAN to a port, which in our terminology are groups, and we have that already pre-populated, we can just choose a group and we can start assigning ports to a VLAN, not just on one switch, but we can do this over the complete system in a consistent way. By doing it in a consistent way, we avoid making big mistakes in the networks. At the moment, what still happens a lot is that many different applications use their own network infrastructure. It's also a question of liability or responsibility, let's say, because maybe sometimes it's not the same company doing the audio or the lighting, and then it's purely who facilitates and then who wears the responsibility. But if you look to a complete integration, then today it's very possible to just make a complete converged network, and then you can integrate the different elements on one infrastructure. So it's not a technical boundary anymore. It's more like a responsibility mindset of and sometimes the trust in the infrastructure, because they say I still want my audio separated because I'm not sure if it will work. That's what we guarantee, it can work together. Because we do a lot of interoperability tests, so we validate with many manufacturers and then make sure that we can say it works, it can reassure the manufacturer it works. So we reduce the support as well on their side, but also we build up a lot of knowledge inside so that our application and support engineers, when they get a question, the user can ask the question in the application, so they can say, I have a problem connecting my whatever, maybe my Bolero antenna. So they don't need to explain the network challenges, they can just talk the application language, and that's making a huge difference in support as well. If we look to specific group settings, We have just one tick box to enable, which allows you to do AVB Milan, so that's very easy. If I have an AES67 group, for example, we do P2P v2 clocking, which means that your clock protocol on the network stays very, very accurate. Up to now, we did this only in transparent mode, but since here on the ISE exhibition, we are launching our boundary clock. Boundary clock means that the switch is going to replicate the clock in the network, so it scales to many, many endpoints in that way. So instead of having one master who needs to see all the replies on the network, he will now see the reply of the switch, and the switch will do its work for him for the next hop. And that means you can scale the network, and something unique we have in here is that we allow this to do within any group or any VLAN. And we have a mode where we say automatic. So again, our intention with Luminex is always to make networking, AV networking made easy. So when you leave it automatic, the user does not need to know anything about clocking profiles, settings, etc. It will automatically learn from the master clock in the network what the behavior is, and it will replicate it in that way. If you still want to use it in a certain way, so if you maybe want to choose a certain profile like AES67 media, you can choose the profile, you will see the settings, you cannot adapt them. And if you really want to dive deep and you want to do it fully customized, you can also set the boundary clock with all the parameters you want. But for us, hey, first step, keep it easy, boundary clock enabled, automatic, and you're good to go, let's say. For some specific protocols, like AVB for example, we can actually see how the streams are going through the network from one device to the other device. So we're visualizing the streams, we can visualize exactly how much bandwidth is being used by that stream, and how much bandwidth is being used by other protocols. So you see here the AVB part reservation, and the blue part is actually what other protocols are using. So AVB only reserves what it needs and not more, and there is a maximum it can reserve, but all this is room for other protocols, and that makes convergence possible as well with AVB. If we look to lighting protocols, we have cooperation with MA lighting. So we have some MA lighting devices in our network, and we can exactly see how the session data of an MA network runs in the network. One of the strong features in Araneo is also the health check. To gain confidence in your infrastructure, you want to be sure, is everything right? The health check, when we open it, should be all green tick boxes. So there's a few things we have here. As an example, we have an issue apparently on the fiber. It tells me on this port 20 of this switch, there's an issue. Actually, when I look at it, there's a fiber connection. The fiber is 2 strings. On one string there is almost no loss, on the other string there's ATB loss. That's a good indication that's either a dirty fiber or a cracked fiber, so it gives me a warning up front. We do that as well for MA related data. So if there's a session issue, we give you warnings if that has to do with the infrastructure or not. And then one of the nice examples is, let's say we have a switch that has been used on another job. And for some reason, someone changed the VLAN in this switch. Maybe it's not 1800 anymore, but it's 1810. It's a change that only happened on that switch, because here with the web interface, I'm working on one switch only. But if I now go back to Araneo, directly in my health check, because it's looking to the complete network, it gives me there is an inconsistency of VLANs in that particular group. So it really gives you an idea, oh, there is a problem, an inconsistency in VLAN, has impact on my trunk connections, has automatically impact on my querying. I see that when I show the querier in the network that this switch became carrier for its own VLAN 1810, and that the other one in the network is here, who is carrier for all the other VLANs. So it's not only indicating it, but I can also solve it. So I click on the group, and here I can directly been pointing to the problem. Again, if I change something, I do it network-wide, so in a very consistent way, and it solves all the issues on the network. And that's the strength of Luminex. We work to full convergence, very easy to use, and giving you the tools to give you full confidence in overviewing the network, health checking, seeing the bandwidth, all that. And that's all the live environment. And to finish it up, everything you see on configuration we did, we can do all this in project mode. So I can start from scratch, from a blank canvas, and draw my network. I can connect devices and make offline without connection to any device. I can make a network. I can also go to an installation and just drag the full topology in my project. Can make changes here, and that's nice if you can prepare things, but we also want to deploy it. So we can also deploy it, so you see a complete list of connected devices. And once you do this the first time, then they're unmapped, of course, and then you can just drag drop that switch on its position, and then you deploy the setting. It will check if all vital connections are there before you deploy, and 2 minutes later, from a blank unconfigured configuration, you have a full deployed network. So for installation integration, that minimizes commission time to a very minimum, and you have always full documentation of your setup. Also, if you change things in live, you just drag it back to project, and you can keep a full project of your full installation. And that makes Luminex, in combination with the Gigacore switch, is a brand that gives you that full confidence to work with, and a lot of tools to minimize your time.